10.3, Understanding Quadratic Functions Practice Solutions. For number 1, we are skipping that. We went over that with your notes. Your domain for all of these quadratic functions is all real numbers. Your range depends on if it's x squared or negative x squared. If it's x squared, it's y is greater than or equal to 0. If it's negative x squared, it's y is less than or equal to 0. Your vertex is where that middle point is. So with both of these, it's 0. And then your axis of symmetry is that invisible line that crosses through the middle of that parabola. In this case, it's x is equal to 0. And then your minimum and your maximum deal with either the highest or lowest point, depending on which one you're working with. So remember, if you have an x squared, your minimum is y is greater than or equal to 0. And then if you have a maximum, it's the negative x squared, so that way you have the highest point. So for 2 through 9, we are graphing these quadratic functions. So for 2, they give us g of x is equal to 4x squared. We're plugging in negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. These are the best values for this to use, as well as ones that will give us terms that will fit on our quadratic or our coordinate plane. So we have 4 times negative 2 squared, which is 4 times 4, which is 16. 4 times negative 1 squared, which is 4 times 1, which is 4. Then we have 4 times 0 squared, which is 4 times 0, which is 0. And then 4 times 1 squared is 4 times 1 again, which is 4. And then 4 times 2 squared is 4 times 2, which is also 16. So to graph this, you are going to have negative 2, 16, which is not on our coordinate plane, then negative 1, 4, so then that is here, 0, 0, and 1, 4. So this line is going to be very narrow. Once we put our points down, we draw the line through the points, have arrows, we are done. For 3, we're given g of x is equal to 1/4 x squared. So we're going to plug these values in. We have 1/4 times negative 4 squared is 1/4 times 16. That gives us 4. 1/4 times negative 2 squared is going to be 1/4 times 4. That's 1. Then 1/4 times 0 squared is 1/4 times 0. That's 0. Then we do it all over again. 1/4 times 1 squared. Or sorry, negative. This is 2 squared is 1/4 times 4. So that's going to be 1. And then 1/4 times 4 squared is 1/4 times 16. So that's 4. To plot these points, we're going to have negative 4, 4. Negative 2, 1. 0, 0, 2, 1, and 4, 4. So again, we just draw our line through these points. And we're good. Our practice. We're going to look back at these graphs from the first page. For 10 through 13, we are giving the equation of the parabola that's graphed. So for 10, this parabola is opening up, so this is going to be a positive x squared. So we're going to have something times x squared. Now, that x is going to be 1, the y is going to be 3, so this is going to be something times negative 1 squared is equal to 3. So the 1 squared is 1, so something times 1 is 3. If we divide each side by the 1, we get that that something is 3. So we're going to plug that in, and we get f of x is equal to 3x squared. For 11, our parabola is opening down, so this is going to be a negative x squared. So we're going to have something, a negative something times x squared. So our x is 4, our y is negative 8. So this is going to be a negative times 4 squared is equal to negative 8. a negative something times 4 squared, I'm sorry. A negative something times 4 squared is equal to negative 8. So the 4 squared is 16, so it's a negative something times 16 is equal to negative 8. If we divide each side by the negative 16, we're going to get that that question mark is a positive 1/2. So we're going to plug that in for the question mark up top to get f of x is equal to a negative 1/2 x squared. For 12, we have a parabola that opens down, so this is going to be a negative x squared. And then because we have an x of 3 and a y of negative 2, this is going to become a negative something times 3 squared is equal to negative 2. So the 3 squared is 9, so it's a negative something times 9 is equal to negative 2. We're going to divide each side by the negative 9. And we get that that something is a positive 2/9. So we're going to plug that in up top to give ourselves f of x is equal to a negative 2/9 x squared. For 13, our parabola opens up, so this is going to be a positive x squared. We have an x of 2 and a y of 5, so this is going to be a something times 2 squared is equal to 5. The 2 squared is 4, so that's something times 4 is equal to 5. If we divide each side by the 4, we get that that something is 5/4. So this is going to give us f of x is equal to 5/4 x squared. For number 4, we're given g of x is equal to 3/2x squared. We're going to use negative 4, negative 2, 0, 2, and 4 for this one. So we're going to have 3/2 times negative 4 squared, which is 3/2 times 16. The 16 divided by 2 is 8 times 3 is 24, I'm sorry. Then we have 3/2 times negative 2 squared, which is 3/2 times 4. This is going to give you 3 times 2, which is 6. Then we have 3/2 times 0 squared is 3/2 times 0, which is 0. Then 3/2 times 2 squared is 3/2 times 4. So that's going to give you 6 again. And then 3/2 times 4 squared is 3/2 times 16, which is 8 times 3, which is 24. So this first negative 4/24 and this last 4/24 is not going to fit on our quadratic form or our coordinate plane. So we are going to graph the 3 points in between. So we have negative 2, 6, positive 2, 6, and 0, 0. For 5, we have g of x is equal to 5x squared, so we're going to use negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. So we have 5 times negative 2 squared is 5 times 4, that's 20. 5 times negative 1 squared is 5 times 1, which is 5. 5 times 0 squared is 5 times 0, which is 0. And 5 times 1 squared is 5 times 1, which is 5 again. And 5 times 2 squared is 5 times 4, which is 20 again. So again, the only middle points that we have are going to be the ones on our coordinate plane. So we're going to have negative 1, 5, positive 1, 5, and 0, 0. So again, really narrow here. For 6, we have g of x is equal to negative 1/4 x squared. So we're going to have negative 4, negative 2, 0, 2, and 4 that we're plugging in. So negative 1/4 times negative 4 squared is negative 1/4 times 16. That's going to give us a negative 4. Negative 1/4 times negative 2 squared is negative 1/4 times 4. So that's going to be negative 1. Negative 1/4 times 0 squared is negative 1/4 times 0. So that's going to be 0. Negative 1/4 times 2 squared is negative 1/4 times 4. So that's negative 1. And lastly, negative 1/4 times 4 squared. So negative 1/4 times 16, which is negative 4. So we have negative 4, negative 4. Negative 2, negative 1. 0, 0, 2, 1, and 4, negative 4. So our line should look like this. For 7, we have g of x is equal to negative 4x squared. So we're going to use negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2 for x. So negative 4 times negative 2 squared is negative 4 times 4, which is negative 16. Negative 4 times negative 1 squared is negative 4 times 1, which is negative 4. Negative 4 times 0 squared is negative 4 times 0, which is 0. Then we have negative 4 times 1 squared, which is going to give us negative 4. Negative 4 times 2 squared, which is negative 16. So plot these points. We have negative 1, negative 4, 0, 0, 1, 4. For 8, we are given g of x is equal to negative 3 over 2x squared. So we're going to use negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2 for these. So we have negative 3 over 2 times negative 2 squared, which is negative 3 over 2 times 4. So the 4 divided by 2 is 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. The negative 3 over 2 times negative 1 squared is negative 3 over 2 times 1, which is negative 1.5. The negative 3 over 2 times 0 squared is 0. Negative 3 over 2 times 1 squared is the same as the negative 1, so that's negative 1/2. And the negative 3 over 2 times 2 squared is the same as the first one that we did, so that's negative 6. So negative 2, negative 6, negative 1 and 1/2, 0, 0, 1 and 1/2, and 2, negative 6. For 9, we have g of x is equal to negative 5x squared, so it's going to be negative 5 times negative 2 squared. Negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. Negative 5 times negative 1 squared is negative 5 times 1, which is negative 5. Negative 5 times 0 squared is negative 5 times 0, which is 0. Negative 5 times 1 squared is negative 5 times 1, which is negative 5. Negative 5 times 2 squared is negative 5 times 4, which is negative 20. So we have negative 1, negative 5, positive 1, negative 5, and 0, 0. For the last section,